Hi guys. So there are many concerns about social media, but I think something very positive about Twitter, for example, is that it allows us as non-experts, as lay people, to see an exchange take place in real time between a journalist and an expert, or between one expert and another expert, and for us to get a better understanding of the reality on the ground. You know, in a traditional media interview, the expert would speak, the journalist would ask questions, and there would be no follow-up, and there'd be no way for us to understand whether the expert is telling the truth or not. It's good to have other people chime in here, especially if they're experts. Now, I want to show you this tweet by Lisa O'Carroll, and it was responded to by Kieran the Eurocourier. So now Lisa O'Carroll is a correspondent for The Guardian on the issue of Brexit, and Kieran has appeared on the LBC show, James O'Brien's LBC show, as Kieran the van driver. Kieran has a lot of experience, a lot of knowledge when it comes to crossing borders. For example, he had a discussion with Jacob Rees-Mogg some time ago. Anyway, this tweet is about lorries leaving the UK empty. So I'll read the initial tweet. It was EU logistics company say it is making loads of money from Brexit, as UK importers now paying for empty trucks to go back to EU to avoid holdups in Kent. It's stupid, but it's Brexit. €500 for empty truck, worth it, though not for the environment. So Kieran, the Eurocourier, responds, so a freight forwarder in the EU is organising UK trucks to go out empty to collect imports in the UK. Or are they getting EE trucks to come into the UK? Then the €500 surcharge is put on top to send trucks out empty to Europe to avoid customs. Would make sense. And then she responds, they are. That's what they're doing. EU trucks in full, EU trucks out empty, when normally they would pick up on the way back. So Kieran responds, so what's happening? So what happens to UK exports? Leaving UK trucks to do the hard work? Or maybe not much is moving, full stop. Must say it makes sense for EE trucks to head out empty, then reload on the continent, shunning the UK market. So what's happening here is that lorries are moving from the EU, they're carrying goods into the UK. Of course, when they cross the border into the UK, there aren't any checks being carried out at the moment, or very, very few checks have been carried out. So the flow of traffic, and this is one of the reasons why supermarkets in the UK are not experiencing shortages, because there aren't really any checks on trucks leaving the EU and entering the UK. So goods are moving. That's not the problem. The problem is when trucks leave. Now, what normally would happen is a lorry would organize, the haulage company would organize for a lorry to leave the EU, enter the UK, pick up some goods in the UK at a distribution center, and then take those goods back into the EU, or well, not back, but the lorry would return into the EU, return back to the EU, but it would export goods from the UK into the EU. And that's a way of saving money. It's also better for the environment because a truck does one continuous run instead of many runs. But because of what's happening at the port, for example, in Dover, and the bureaucracy that's required around that, the EU haulage companies have decided we're not actually going to take goods from the UK back into the EU. We're going to allow the UK haulage companies to do that, because it's actually cheaper for us to do that. And so who's picking up the cost here? The ones who are picking up the bill are the UK importers. They're paying extra to have the privilege of these trucks coming in the first place. And of course, this is going to be paid by someone else further down the line. The end consumer will pay the extra cost. So they're paying for Brexit once again. Now, this means that there'll be more work, in a sense, for UK haulage companies, but they're going to have to take the strain, and they're going to suffer the consequences of all this extra bureaucracy. But what's going to happen probably over the next number of months and years is that the haulage companies in the UK will increase, perhaps, to satisfy EU demand for UK goods, but the haulage companies coming from the EU will not. So in a sense, in a sort of twisted way, there is some sort of benefit for the UK haulage companies, but many of them are going to suffer the consequences of Brexit in the meanwhile, because there's all this paperwork to do. And if UK goods don't arrive on time or fresh, for example, in the EU customers will just decide to buy EU products instead. So there is a sort of positive and a negative. Whether it works out as a net positive, I don't think so. The UK haulage companies may increase a little bit in the short term because the EU ones are not coming in, but UK's exporters are going to suffer because of this massive paperwork and bureaucracy problem. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?